freaking Snyder, Titanic was called the ship of dreams, and it really was. I looked up a lot of quotes, but this one was my favorite because it's like the first line in the Titanic, in the movie, that Rose says, who's the main character. And the reason that she says this is because literally everyone thought that it was a ship of dreams because it was such a grand ship and it was not supposed to sink. It was just this huge deal, and everybody even like waved it off. Everyone cared so much about the ship. And I think that when she says it was a ship of dreams, and it really was, is also because it kind of took down everybody's dreams with it when it sunk, because everybody knew that they were going to New York and they were going to start a new life. Well, obviously most of them didn't survive, so their dreams were taken with the ship. Obviously the title is Titanic, and it was released in 1997. This movie is a romance and a history. It starts out with this group found this necklace from the Titanic because they had been like exploring it years later after the ship had sunk. And they found this heart necklace, and they found a picture. And they knew from the picture that it had to be somebody. They ended up finding the lady, and her name was Rose. So they call her up, and they're like, we want a story about the Titanic, because like I said, there was not that many survivors. Well, she claims the necklace and says it was hers, and it goes to a flashback of her entire life. And the whole movie is basically the flashback. She meets this guy, he's super optimistic about life, and it kind of changes her, because Rose was stuck in this other marriage, and this guy was just not great. It was really just for money, and her parents kind of forced her into it. And at the end, obviously the ship is sinking, and she Jack dies, and she's one of the only survivors. My favorite part of the movie is Jack, one of the main characters, at a dinner. He was only invited to this dinner because Rose, the other main character, was attempting to jump off the ship, and he saw her and had already noticed her already and tried to pull her off. And when he did pull her off, one of her shoes came off. So then her fiance saw them and obviously thought it was something more because her shoe was off, and just wanted to make it a big deal because he was kind of a bad guy. And so then she was like, no, I promise he tried to save me, like this man is great, whatever. So they're like, okay, let's invite him to dinner if he's so great. So he's obviously not in the same class as her, they're not the same type of people. He goes to this dinner, and he just sits there and talks about how life's a gift, and he's so glad that he's on the Titanic, and just does not care about what anybody thinks about him. The main character is Rose. In the beginning, she's unhappy and suicidal. And then the change is obviously her meeting Jack, because he's so different with life and so optimistic, that she realizes that she wants to be like that, because like I said, he talks about how life's a gift and he just doesn't care about what's happening, kind of just lives in the moment, and she's always had very strict rules and a strict life. At the end, she changes, and obviously Jack passes away, and she realizes that she does not need her family, and she doesn't want to live the way that they lived. Jack is the second main character, and what I think is unique about him is that he stays the same throughout the movie. Like, he doesn't really have much character development, which is kind of a good thing, because like I said, he was optimistic throughout the whole movie. Like, he never really changed his mindset or cared what anybody thought about him. The main themes are love, which is romance, class, which is rich versus poor, and tragedy, because lives were lost. Also greed, because Rose and Cal was his name, her previous fiance. It was just for money. And memory, because like the whole thing is literally Rose talking about her memory of the Titanic. The cinematography, the ship looked very rich and gold and elegant. And I really like that, because I feel like doing like a history statement, you have to really get the point across. And I feel like when the ship was sinking, they really let you visualize kind of the panic, because they have the lights flickering and everybody's kind of freaking out, and you just kind of feel like you're in it. Watching it affects me because it makes me grateful for life, because of Jack's attitude and like how he literally didn't even know he was going on the Titanic, and he was just so happy to be wherever he was. and I also think that it shows a real life tragedy. I think it's an important movie also because of that, because it shows a real life tragedy. The genre is epic romance and disaster. This speech covers themes, characters, genres, and a summary of the Titanic, plus my personal view. I recommend it because it's a classic, it's a real life story, and it makes you look at life differently. Titanic was called the Ship of Dreams, and it was, according to James Cameron,